I was kind of deep down hoping we were going to get a really fun Timberwolves OKC game one. And then for about a quarter and a half, it felt like we were heading that way. And then OKC does the thing that they do from time to time where their defense just shifts. It's shapeshifters. They just turn it up a different way. And then all of a sudden the game's over and you're like, what happened? How is this an 18-point game? It was just, they were just up by 2 a second ago and that was it. So I don't know. You take anything away from this or is it just typical game one?
Well, first of all, the Wolves were ahead by 4 points halfway through the third quarter. Mike Conley had a little flurry. Mike Conley hit a 3. It was 60-56 with 7:22 left. But look, I said this before the series. I picked Thunder in 6. Don't feel any better. I guess I have to feel slightly better about that pick. But the bottom line is this: the most consistent unit, let's call it, left in the playoffs is Oklahoma City's defense. Every single night, they're going to be an absolute bear to score on them. No one has really found an answer at any point of the season. Denver did pretty well against them in the regular season. Spoiler alert, that did not last into the playoffs, even with the best player in the world.
Yeah.
Trying every trick he has. And they just reach a frenzy. And, like Julius Randle posting up, it's just like, watch out. Like, where's the help? Is there any help coming from? Is Lou Dort going to pull the chair? Where are the arms? There are just arms everywhere. And, look, 17 turnovers doesn't sound that bad for Minnesota. I mean, it's not great, but it doesn't sound that bad. 13 of those were steals, and that plus a free throw margin that is even and or slightly an edge to Oklahoma City is just the Wolves are dead on arrival against this defense if those stats trend that way.
Yeah, it felt like this was the game about 30, 40 minutes in. It's like, all right, they're going to get this one if they're going to get a game, right? Everything's going well. Rando's playing out of his ass. And OKC looked nervous. And OKC looked a little tired from maybe that 7-gamer. And it was interesting when Kenrich Williams came in.
Love it. Kenny Hustle, baby.
Unbelievable. Like, would he have been the 5th best Nugget? Where do you have him ranked on Nuggets? Could he have played 35 minutes a game for the Nuggets?
He was plus 19 in 9 minutes. Made every shot that he took. Unbelievable.
Yeah. So when he did that, I'm like, is this a tactical move, or did he extend the bench today because he was worried his team was a little worn out, or what's going on? And did he lose faith in Caruso all of a sudden? And then Caruso came in and played one of the great stretches he's had in the playoffs. And that answered that question.
Yeah. Caruso's making threes, guarding Randall, as I think everyone was reminded that, oh yeah, he's going to guard Randall when he guarded Jokic at the end of the series. And Kenrich Williams, he's like a beloved guy there. For years they've been saying he's going to be Nick Collison 2.0 for us. He's just going to be a lifer here. We love him. He's about all the right things. Hadn't really done much in the playoffs, in the real playoffs. I'm not going to count the Memphis series. It's a cool moment. He may not do much from here on out, but that was a big stretch of basketball for him. It was a cool moment.
He had a big 3 too. So the things I was worried about heading into this game, what are we getting from Mike Conley, who's old, going against this gauntlet? You called on Monday's pod. You said you thought OKC's defense is now going way up there. I want to see it for 4 rounds because I'm still licking my wounds from jumping the gun with Minnesota last year when they looked good in round 2, and all of a sudden I was comparing them to the 89 Pistons. So I have the training wheels on for all defense takes in these playoffs. But the bones are there. I think what makes them special is the different looks and how they can do the big and small, how they can put we're just going to try to get a lot of steals lineup. They have looks like a football team that I don't really remember seeing. I guess you go back to the 89 Pistons and teams of that ilk that could kind of change their look depending on what you had. They're on pace, but what they did today is they do it over and over again. They just go on these runs and they're defense fueled, which is so unusual in the league, right? The runs that we usually have in the league are threes or somebody getting hot. This team can have runs based on steals and pressure and picking up guys at half court. That one sequence, I know you know what I'm about to say, when Edwards was bringing the ball up and Caruso kind of jumped on him, and then he almost fell over for a backcourt just because of the pressure, and then got it back and then just launched a terrible 3. Nobody else is doing that in the league. And I think that's what makes them special is they just throw things defensively. They're like, I've not seen that anywhere.
Yeah, they have a couple every game where it's just, the guy just either fell over along the sideline under pressure bringing the ball up, or dribbled the ball off his foot, or I don't quite know what happened. I have to watch the replay to see what went haywire here. But you mentioned different looks, and I was talking about this before the series. I said it's going to be a safer series to play Chet as the only big guy on the floor. They were afraid to do it against Denver very much, and they did it a lot today. Hartenstein only played 20 minutes. And Chet was awesome. I mean, it doesn't jump off the stat sheet, 15, 7, 3. I just thought he made the kind of plays he needs to make on offense for them to win the championship, for them to win 16 playoff games. Going to have to hit some threes. He hit just one, but he was 1 of 1. Some tough twos, some good takes around the basket. And they have him guarding either McDaniels or a little bit Gobert, never Julius Randle. They were like, we're just keeping you away from that matchup. He's going to bulldoze you.
Yeah, we're saving your sternum and your ribs.
We're going to preserve you as a help defender. And he's just everywhere. Like there was that one play where he switched on to DiVincenzo in the right corner because the Wolves kind of moved around their offense a little bit. And DiVincenzo's like, cool, I'll just drive baseline and see what happens. And what happens is Chet's like, you're just going to eat the basketball for dinner. Yeah. How's that feel? He was awesome. And then we saw them close the game. I mean, the game was already kind of closed, but with no bigs on the floor, they went to their sort of all wing, all guard, switch everything. Good luck figuring this thing out lineup. And, they have a little bit more lineup flexibility, I think, in this series than they did against Denver. And look, Minnesota had 88 points. 88 points. And I think I guess we got to talk about the threes, right? 15 of 51.
53's 88 points is never a good ratio.
Hard to win in the NBA in 2025 when the other team takes 30 more threes than you, and yet they won running away. And the tracking data nerds are already flagging it. They're already awaiting the second spectrum data tomorrow. Now, did Minnesota underperform their expected shot variation was this just a shot luck game? And I'll be interested to see what that data actually says, because they missed some good ones. But man, they make you take, first of all, no defense is better at making you think you're open and then flying back at you while another guy stunts at you. So at least there's like stuff happening in your line of sight. And by the way, the guy flying at me has gigantic arms and he's really fast and he's like 23 years old and at the peak of his athleticism. And a lot of them, watching in real time, and we're doing this right after the game, I haven't gone back and rewatched them yet, they felt like long threes and a lot like early in the shot clock threes. And even the ones that are decent and 29 feet early in the shot clock are long and have the feel of like, well, I better shoot this one now because it's pretty good and we ain't getting anything better than this. I'm letting it fly. And, I thought for the most part, a lot of those threes were like decently contested. And for a lot of this game, it was Minnesota missing tough threes and Oklahoma City missing tough twos. And I think what should scare Minnesota a little bit is Oklahoma City started getting easier twos and making more of the twos as the game went on.
Right. Well, if you're Minnesota, the one thing you're going to come out of the game is we have to get a better whistle on these SGA calls.
Oh, they were furious the whole game. I mean, they were furious going into the game, which is always kind of a bad sign. If you're already like on edge about it, it's like it feels like your mind, you just got to chill out a little bit, accept that it's going to be bad. But yeah. I'm sure some clips will be sent to the league office between games 1 and 2.
Deservedly. Look, I tweeted this in real time, and I never tweet during games usually, but I just thought Shea, and I don't care. I didn't bet on the game. I didn't really care who won. I just hope we have a long, fun series. But I feel like Shea is getting this whistle that nobody else in the playoffs is getting, where there's these little touch fouls or these bumps where you're not even sure who initiated the bumps, and he's just getting it. And I think with Minnesota, you can see this. You saw it in the Lakers series. You saw it in the last series. McDaniels can just have 4 or 5 fouls immediately, and you don't even know what happened. And when he has fouls, I think Minnesota is a different team because he's their swing guy. Every team has a swing guy. I feel like he's their swing guy. And once you put foul trouble on him and he's not as aggressive, it comes down to like, is Ant or are the threes going to go in or is Ant going to go nuts? The bench guys were also really bad. And there's officially a Naz Reid storyline that's developed where he's been bad for 3 weeks now, where he hasn't looked like this guy. Like when they really got hot, when Randall was out, I think it was like February range. And he was like 20 to 25 a night and, 7, 8 rebounds a game and was like really impactful. I don't think he's figured out how to impact the team now that Randall is looking like Randall. And today he was 1 for 11. Obviously, it's about as bad as it's going to get. But you do that. Alexander Walker's 3 for 11, and Dante was 3 for 14. They're not really built to survive 3 shit bench games, right?
Yeah,
on the road.
5 of 28 on threes combined for those 3 guys. First of all, 28 threes for 3 bench guys. That's almost an accomplishment in and of itself. Like you're almost having 3 bench guys take 10 threes apiece. And you said that about Naz Reid.
Even Missoula's like, I don't know, that's a lot.
I thought Missoula would be like in like the jungles of the Amazon by now.
Yeah, he probably is. He doesn't have cable right now. He has no cable, no streaming right now.
You said that about Naz Reid, and it seemed like a little unfair to me because I in my head, I mean, it's like been a while since the Wolves played. In my head, I'm like, he's had some pretty good games. I'm looking back, last 3 games against Golden State, all single digits. First 2, he had 30 combined, and then 2 single digit games against the Lakers. A really good game 1, which maybe is the one that's sticking in my head. But since then, very quiet. And win or lose this series and whatever, obviously Minnesota and their new ownership is going to have some big financial decisions to make, and he's a big one.
I didn't realize we were going there already.
No, we're not. I'm just saying you brought it up.
There's no free agents, but there's also no cap space.
And he's such a legend there, and deservedly so. Like the just people just screaming Naz Reid in the streets and holding the Naz Reid towels. I hope he stays there forever. But look, I think Minnesota will work their way into this series, but this game was not the start you were hoping for. Could you come out of this like, oh geez, man, this is gonna be tough to score enough against these guys?
It exacerbated all the things I was worried about, which is ball handling, Conley's age, the fact that they don't really have a backup point guard, that it seems like Edwards is going to have the ball a lot. And I think OKC was ready for that, especially in the second half. You could say like, oh, you're going to have Edwards bring it up. We're going to actually make it really difficult for him. And OKC especially at home, with the ability to snap the switch for 4 minutes. I'm worried for Minnesota. Because I'm trying to think, what's the roadmap for them to be awesome in this series? When you think how bad OKC played for the first half of this game, basically, for them, and then they still win the game easily. I guess it starts with Edwards, who was only 18 points. Typical, like, weird feeling it out. He does this sometimes. There was a Laker game like this, too. There was the first game of the Warriors series where it's like this. It's almost like a feel-out game, but it lasts the whole game, and then the game's over and they lost. But I would assume he's going to come out way more aggressive.
You do have to remind yourself all the time, don't overreact to game 1, even if and maybe especially if it confirms to your expectations about how the series would go, because then your tendency is to really overreact to it. Roadmap number 1 is hit 4 more threes if you're going to take 50, and that does a lot of the work for you. But I will
continue to 19-20.
Yeah, I'll continue to say this, like, if they lose the turnover, if they lose the live ball turnover battle like that, because Oklahoma City had 12 turnovers, only 5 of those were steals. So that's, what did I say, 13 steals to 5 steals. If they lose that battle that badly and they don't win the free throw battle by a significant margin, they're just not going to win games. There's just no math that's going to help them win games. But step 1 is the threes. The Ant thing, like, grade the Ant. What grade would you give Ant this game? He does have games like this where, like, he has moments. And first of all,
for him, D+.
Wow.
For him, not D+ across the board. Yeah. For him.
What do you want more of? What did you see that concerned you?
Swagger. I want, we're playing the best team in the league and I'm in their house and I'm stealing this game from them. I didn't feel that at all in this game. Now, he did get hurt in the first half, and I don't know if that tweaked whatever was going on. Randall also had a huge first half, so maybe you back off. But he's got to win the swagger battle with this. You beat OKC by. It sounds stupid, and it's the opposite of Second Spectrum. And I liked your Second Spectrum voice that you broke out, by the way, your nerdy Second Spectrum.
It's like, I always tell people, like, I said it about the Celtics after game 1 and game 2 against the Knicks. Hang the shot quality championship banner. Congratulations, right. You had better shot quality. You're down 2-0 in the series. You get nothing for that.
Yeah, I think for him, he's got to be talking shit. he's got to feel like he's the alpha on the court. I didn't feel that at all in this game. Randall, ironically, was the one that was starting to carry himself that way. And it was interesting to watch OKC swing everything they were doing defensively to try to just kind of take him out. I mean, the Caruso piece of this, I was thinking how, as you know, I always want more awards because I think we need stuff to commemorate the season well after the fact and be like, oh, that was the season when this happened and this happened and this happened. If we had a role player of the playoffs award, I feel like Caruso would be like minus 700 on FanDuel to take it at this point. To watch somebody guard Randall, Edwards, and Jokic well in a 48-hour span, who else is doing that?
Who else is in the? Does it have to be a bench guy? Like, is Josh Hart in the conversation? Is Andrew Nembhard in the conversation?
Yes.
Those guys are other leaders.
You have to think of it like it's a movie poster, and it can't be somebody who would be one of the 2 or 3 faces in the movie poster or in the TNT. When they're doing the commercial for the game, it would be weird if they were in the game. Like Julius Randle is not eligible.
Aaron Gordon too good for that.
I think he is, because if you're doing the Nuggets movie poster, it's the 3 guys, right? So it'd be Christian Brown in that case. I think the
Nuggets movie poster is just Jokic sitting on the bench looking sad as the lead is like frittered away. They always cut to him. It was the Nico Harrison in the crowd cut when anything bad would happen, and then it became the Jokic on the bench camera
when he's
cut.
Looking up and it's like, oh, there's 11 minutes and 10 seconds left in the fourth quarter. I probably can't come back yet. They told me they wanted me to get to 9 minutes.
How did that?
Oh God, Russ just turned the ball over again. Oh, now it's 10:50.
Let's talk. Can we talk a little more about Ant?
Yeah.
So, like, the simplest explanation for why Oklahoma City is very difficult to play against is if you're Ant and you have the ball at the top of the arc. Like, what direction are you going against this defense? There's no easy mark to go at. I thought at the beginning of the game he was starting to get traction in the Gobert pick and roll, just like not softest part of the defense, but just I can always get a big guy, like get Hartenstein up the floor, and like maybe I can get around him, or there's a pocket pass to Gobert or something, and then Gobert only ends up playing 20 minutes. They play Chet at center quite a bit. When Isaiah Joe was on the floor, Ant really wanted to go at him, and they couldn't get that switch. Like the Thunder were really good at hedging, recovering, and like you take that out of it, and it's like I don't know where to go. And you could try Shea, but Ant has not really developed like this sort of back to the basket bully ball game that I think he'd like. I mean, he and I talked about it 3-4 years ago in a phone interview. He would like to do that, and it just hasn't. It's just there's just not a lot of places to pick at. Whereas I thought the Thunder gradually were like, Shea was like, okay, particularly when Gobert's off the floor, I can get someplace against Randall. I can attack Naz Reid's feet in the pick and roll. Like I got play. It's not great. Like this is a really good defensive team too, but I got things I can do. And Ant is still figuring out kind of where he wants to poke at. And I think he's going to have a game where he finds the right places and stuff starts to open up for him. Maybe part of it is like he likes to go one-on-one. He's an incredible one-on-one player, and he can beat almost anybody one-on-one. And he had a couple of those in this game. But again, it's like if it's Case and Wallace or somebody like that, like that's no picnic. And they're going to pick you a lot of the time too.
Yeah, Case and Wallace was in there for a little bit. And OKC always has 2 guys you just completely forgot were on the team. And then they're just kicking ass for 3 straight minutes. I think the thing that OKC seems like they love is if somebody's going straight up one-on-one, almost like the old school 1 forward. And it's like, I'm going to go one-on-one, beat a guy, and just try to get to the basket. They're like, great, please try that. We're ready in so many different ways. It seems like you got to attack them on the sides with angles. Because I feel like the Celtics fell into the same kind of issues with Tatum when it would go bad, when it was always like him 40 feet from the basket, straight ahead, versus when they would put him on the left or the right, and he could kind of veer toward the paint and decide like what to do off the dribble. I always felt like he was better. Maybe that's what they're going to have to do with Edwards. And I thought they found something in the first half with the Gobert pick and rolls, and then they just stopped.
There was a play in the second half where I don't remember exactly. It was an Ant pick and roll, maybe with Gobert, and he got Case and Wallace on his hip and got him trapped kind of behind him, and then snaked it. So he changed directions and it looked like he was going to have a driving lane to the right. And that if Gobert was the screener, let's just say Gobert was going to seal off everyone on the other side of the floor. And Caruso just ran in from the right corner off Alexander Walker. And Ant was like, oh my God, okay, I'll kick the ball to Alexander Walker. And in real time, I thought they had switched. And then I rewatched it and it was like, no, Caruso just ran all the way back to Alexander Walker, contested the three. So Alexander Walker had to pump, put the ball on the floor for one dribble, rise up for a three. And then here comes Cason Wallace coming at me. And it was like a decent three, but it's an example of Ant just couldn't get an easy feel for there's a clear path to the rim and I'm taking it. And then they're just flying at you and making you take like some decent threes, some bad threes. So there's a great, I mean, look, it's not breaking news. They're an awesome defensive team.
Yeah. Well, the problem if you're the other team that's playing whoever, the favorite, you kind of have to win game one. I feel like to pull off an upset. The Thunder were 68-14 this season. They're 8-3 in the playoffs. Now you have to beat them 4 out of 6 times, basically, to send them packing. And that includes winning at least one game on the road, right? And I guess game 7 on the road. Just a tall task. I thought this was the game they had to steal, especially OKC. Definitely seemed tired that first half. Randall's playing great. This is the game you probably take. So I don't really know. In terms of tweaks, I feel like it's going to be easier for OKC to tweak this and use the last quarter and a half to their advantage.